If you're ready to dream, dream big here on KeeneCast, the Katy Keene podcast. I am Alex.
I'm Justin, the dreamer.
I'm Pete.
No dream
Also
Pete.
the dreamer.
No dream Pete.
No
Dream
dreamless.
Pete.
I rarely dream.
Makes sense.
That's because you always fall into bed in an alcoholic stupor, Pete.
That's right. And then I wake up in a rage.
This guy needs a dream.
Well, it's funny you say that about rage because the opposite rage is love, and we're going to be talking about Katy Keene, Chapter 2, You Can't Hurry Love, the second episode of the show. Now, before we get to the recap, before we talk about anything with the show, as we are wont to do with second episodes of shows, we love the premiere. Thought it was great.
Yes.
I just want to get your bead on the second episode now that we are fully into it. And I'll give you my take first. I felt like this, and I was surprised about this, but this episode did a good job of repiloting in my mind. Like, it very much felt like they added a couple of details, but they were hitting a lot of the same beats as the first episode, which is a very old school TV technique where it used to be when you broadcast once a week and there weren't really any repeats, you get that pilot, people would hear about it during the week, and then you get the second episode and be like, oh yeah, I get what this show is about. And that's kind of what I got from this one, which, mind you, I liked, but I was surprised to discover.
Well, in this episode, I felt like had more balance between all of the sort of main four characters, which I thought was cool. We learned more about each of them in this episode. And in general, I love the tone of the show is like hits a sweet spot. It's nostalgic for New York. It feels like an old Hollywood television show, movie. The characters are like archetypes, but they're still interesting, and the dialogue is great. It just has a nice structure that is just satisfying. It's like good candy.
Yeah, I liked it. I felt like they did a good job of being like picking up and just kind of, not making big swings or choices, but kind of like slowly moving the plot forward in a way that's like, hey, these are who these characters are. I also really like Katy Keene and her kind of struggle with love, and like you can. I thought it was handled well. Like, clearly KO is a great person for her, but that thing of like, is this the one? And she was kind of surprised with the proposal. So I like the way it was handled. I think I like this, especially because Riverdale is an insane show. Sabrina's insane. It's nice to have a show that just kind of is like, this is a clean version of New York. Like Justin is saying, it's like it's kind of a nostalgia. It's not real New York, but it's like kind of what New York feels like, especially when you just get here.
That's a great point. It feels like New York. Also, I will say this episode is very high in vitamin J.
Wait, what does that mean?
It's very jellical. This episode is extremely jellical.
Is this a Cats reference? Or
you're goddamn right it is, because we get Jorge auditioning for
happening.
Cats later in the episode, and that is jellicality I did not see coming.
Yes. All right. Well, let's jump into it. I know I didn't want to hurry us here at the beginning because you can't hurry love, but we got to hurry through this recap here. There's not too much you need to know other than Katy Keene is a hopeful fashion designer in New York, or at least she is destined to become a fashion designer. Right now, she is working in a department store named Lacey's. At Lacey's, she used to work as a personal shopper, or at least wanted to be a personal shopper. She was an assistant to Gloria Grandbilt, is that her full name? Who is sort of the dragon lady. She's the Miranda Priestley of Lacey's, but ended up instead working designing the windows, which is a much more comfortable job for her.
With Francois, or did she?
Yes. Ooh, or did she? That is a good question. She's also dating a boxer named K.O. Kelly, who at the very end of the episode proposed to her, surprise, outside a pizza place. Yeah. But it was a New York pizza place where you hold the pizza like this.
With the big diamond ring. Don't get any sauce on the diamond because it's a beautiful looking diamond. Hey.
But that's, that's real because you could tell because there's a pizza place, so it's New York.
That's amore. It's either New York or California Pizza Kitchen, which is obviously national.
Could be Papa John's. Could be a Papa John's, maybe.
Guys,
that's
that
a New
was
York
clearly
pizza
none
place.
of those things.
Yeah,
I've actually,
there was
guys,
a guy who came out and said, "Hey, I wanted to apologize for lying about eating 40 pizzas in 30 days."
Wow.
So that felt like it might have been a Papa John's or it might have just been a coincidence.
the Papa himself was there. That's the topicality people demand. Guys, I've never had pizza outside of Papa John's. Is there better pizza than that?
Oh my God, I hate
I
you.
also have only had pizza at Papa John's, so I'm not 100% sure, but love those banana peppers.
Yum. That's how pizza's meant to be eaten, with a handful of peppers.
All right.
I did go into a favor. No, I'm sorry, Pete. It's important to say
This is ridiculous. You can't just say things like this. Okay, first off, banana peppers are delicious, so fuck both of you guys. And secondly, fucking Papa John's pizza, really? That's the one that you're going to be like, that's the only pizza I've had?
So,
was
Pete,
thinking-
you're saying you've
thinking
been
of
to a
trying
New York pizzeria, Pete?
Yes, I have.
Okay, when you go into a New York pizzeria, how much garlic butter do they give you to dip your pizza crust in? Is
They
it like
don't.
a bowl or
That's
a little
not
thing?
a real thing.
I've been thinking of trying Domino's, but I'm worried it's too artisanal for me.
Oh my God. This is painful.
What do you
I
think?
hate
I
this
tried
bit.
Pizza Hut once. Too rich for my blood. Walked
Too
right out.
expensive. They put too many great ingredients in there.
No thanks.
I've only
This
bought
is
pizza
awful.
from a hut-shaped building. Are there other types of building that pizzas come in?
Oh, no.
So I guess this is a long way of saying this scene at the end of the last episode of Katy Keene, very confusing for us. Now,
And
let's move
when
on to the
you
other
name a kid KO, he's going to become a boxer.
Yeah.
what do you think his full name is?
I don't know.
Knockout Kelly, I assume. I
Knockout?
assume his first name is Knock, his middle name is Out, and his last name is Kelly.
I guess. I mean that I guess makes the most sense. But he could also be kicking it old school Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Well, great. We're still recapping what happened on the previous episode. Let's jump over to Josie McCoy, who has moved from Riverdale in upstate New York, of course, we assume, to touring around the country, finding her voice as a musician, came to New York, moved in with Katy Keene, hooked up with a highfalutin record producer named Alexander Cabot, but got messed up by his mean sister, Zandra Cabot, a.k.a. Alexandra Cabot, who has a skunk stripe in her hair and a bone to pick with her brother, who apologized to Josie, but she was a little bit on the rocks and decided she was going to find her dream the own way.
Now,
The other
real
dreamers,
quick before we move on, Alex, as an Alexander, have you ever thought about going as Xander?
I did. I actually like Xander, but there was Xander on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I felt like I can't do that.
Wow.
I know what I'm calling you from now on, which you really love, Xander. Zand. The Zand Man. Enter Zand Man.
I would
You're
also.
starting to sound like my mom, who actually does call me Zads.
Wow.
Wow.
That's funny. I call you Zalbs.
Yeah, there you go. You're my dad, so it's not that weird.
Oh, cool. I would like to say it starts with her complaining about walking 50 blocks in heels. I didn't believe that. Okay,
We're not done with the recap yet, Pete.
Oh, damn it! I'm
don't
trying to
spoil
hurry
it.
There's
this
still other
along.
characters to go. You jumped too far ahead. We've been taking too many side trips, and as we've already established, you can't hurry recaps. You just have to wait. Recaps don't come easy. They're a game of give and take. So let's jump over to talk about Jorge Lopez, a.k.a. Ginger Lopez. Jorge, his parents own the building that they all live in. He works at the bodega downstairs. He dreams of Broadway stardom. He acted out at a audition for Mannequin the Musical, the last episode, by dressing up as his drag alter ego, Ginger Lopez, by owning himself and owning his power, which everybody was very proud of him for. That obviously has repercussions that we'll talk about in a moment. But he also performs at a club downtown called Molly's Crisis, where he truly is a star, or she truly is a star, excuse me. And then the last character you need to know about is Pepper Smith. She is an it girl who seems to know everybody. We find out a lot more about her this episode.
Yes.
That all said, let's jump into it and actually start walking through this. As Pete mentioned, we get a little bit of a twist, a feint here. You think they're picking up on the cliffhanger from the last episode as Katy is walking around in heels, reviewing her relationship with KO, but it's actually a flashback to the first time they met, which I thought was great. What a fun way of starting it.
I did like this. It made me worried for his proposal right out of the gate. So I think that was a good thing. And I loved how she talked about the A train breaking down, which I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it has happened to me, so I get it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I've only had perfect subway service here in New York.
Wow.
All
MTA
I'm saying,
never
though,
lets me down.
is 50 blocks in high heels, you'd be a little bit more angry than that.
Wow.
Yeah.
He sounds like
Do
a
you
man
know,
who's done it before.
Yeah.
Fred Astaire actually did that backwards in regular shoes.
Wow. I don't know if you're using that correctly, Alex.
I think I got a handle on it. So the other thing that we find out here, which becomes very important to the episode, is that Ko has a big Irish family that basically adopted Katy after her mother died. So there's a very strong familial tie going on there beyond, obviously, her romantic tie with Ko.
And
which
it's
sets up the main conflict.
Yeah, and I like that a lot. It's exciting also that Ko's mother is the mother of Lena Dunham in Girls.
Oh, really?
It's the same family, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So Lena Dunham, you think, from Girls is going to show up at some point.
Yeah, I think in Girls she talked about her brother Ko a lot.
I never really watched the show. I just watched that clip of Adam Driver in the shower a bunch of times.
Cool.
Congrats.
For work, probably.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Yeah, for jobs.
It's the same actor who plays Ko's mom, who is great.
Oh, very cool. Now, then we get the next conflict that's going on. We finally get back to the proposal, and the ring gets stolen, and Ko chases after the guy. But I thought the way this played out also was just great, that it ends up on the front page of the newspaper, that Ko, of course, is very focused on it, but it creates this immediate, very ridiculous, but actually kind of like very New York complication that allows her to put off her answer for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a real thing. Like, people do steal rings when you propose. I've seen the YouTube videos.
Oh, really? That's why they say in New York you have to propose with one hand on a loaded pistol.
Yeah.
So in case anybody
Or nunchucks.
I always say it takes a good guy with a ring to stop a bad guy with a ring.
Oh, that doesn't make any sense.
I mean, listen, again, I'm very in control of my sayings and aphorisms this episode, I think. So then we get over to, I keep saying everything is my favorite thing, but we talked about this on the first episode. One choice that I think is so strong on the show is having that central hub of the apartment that everybody can go to.
Yes.
And we established this right after that, where all the friends, the four of them, are chatting in the apartment, breaking down their lives, what's going on, talking about their troubles. And it's great. Like, it's a smart way not just of orienting the show, but also early on getting these actors who have just met each other to know each other really well and figure out what their repartee is.
Yeah, I really like the everyone gathered on the bed, which happens a couple times in this episode and seems to be like the recurring like reset point for the show. It's really nice.
Yeah. So very telling here for Katy when they ask her, of course you want to marry him, he's the perfect guy.
Yeah.
She pauses when asked if
Deadly
she
pause.
loves him. And in my mind, that's the death knell of the relationship, right?
That shit is over.
Well,
with.
I don't know. I mean, Jorge was quick to be like, you better lock that down. I feel like, you know, especially when something is like, you're not, like, she wasn't thinking about it. She got surprised with the proposal. Now she's like really considering it for the first time. She knows she loves him, but she doesn't know if he's the one that she wants to marry, which I think that's smart, you know?
Yeah, but you can't pause like that. That's why, like, when anyone asks me an important question, I never pause, no matter whether I have an answer or not.
Is that true?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
I will. I will marry you.
Wow.
Wait, no, that's not what I was asking.
Okay.
But,
Sorry, I wasn't listening. I was just waiting to not pause, so no one
I feel
got
like
weird.
I liked the way this was handled. I thought, like, yes, it's heartbreaking for poor KO, but I feel like, you know, it was cool to see her, like, really consider it, you know?
Yeah, and then KO does return. He says he's going to get the ring back. We have a sexy sex montage,
Yes.
which honestly weirdly felt a little out of place in the show. It's been so sweet and clean for the first episode and bit to suddenly have like a classic CW sex montage. Surprising. Threw me off my game a little bit.
Oh, threw you off your game.
Yeah, that's definitely the wrong phrase there.
I didn't feel like it
What
was
game
out
are you
of
talking
place.
about?
The bigger game that I'm playing.
your own private sex game. It's clear that Katie wants to be physically engaged to KO, even if she doesn't want to be legally engaged to him.
Yeah. I do wonder on that point how much of this is going to be the show as a whole about getting away from this tone that we have set up. If they are actually growing up in New York, is it going to be sweet and clean and a fairy tale of New York throughout, or are we slowly going to get grittier and more realistic? And I don't think we'll get to the point where it's like season 5 of Katy Keene is the deuce or anything like that, but it's going to. I do wonder if it's part of it is Katie's path to growing up and not looking at things as earnestly and more realistically, or not. I just don't know at this point.
That would be awesome if, as the show goes on, the city gets more and more grimy and gritty. That would be hilarious.
It goes backwards in time, back to the 70s.
Yeah,
people start spray painting the subways.
I think that I think this tone is really. It's what separates the show from so many other shows right now. So I think it would be a mistake to lose that. I think the characters can grow through the storybook of it and then start to make those choices. But I don't think it has to get dark or more gritty in any way.
Yeah. Then we get another nice bit of establishment. We had a scene in the previous episode where Josie and Katie sat and ate sandwiches at a lighthouse in Washington Heights. I think that's where it was.
Right underneath the GWB.
Yeah, there you go. Which we were wondering about this last episode, and their apartment is in Washington Heights. I think that was established, so there you go. But we find out the lighthouse is her secret spot. That's where Katie talks to her mom, even though her mom is gone, and she asks her, "Give me a sign, what should I do?" And that sign comes when Gloria calls her and says, "We need you to come into work." And Katie's like, "I don't work for you anymore." And Gloria's like, "I don't care, click." Which, super fun.
Yeah. A lot of my ex-bosses call me and are like, "Get back here and keep waiting tables."
It's a lot of this show so far is trucking in archetypes, and it is a very classic archetype, but I like in the first episode we set up Gloria as an antagonist for Katie, along with Amanda, her second in command. Here, it feels like Gloria is more the Miranda Priestley dragon lady with a secret heart of gold is what we're getting. And I'm a total sucker for that.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm curious to see if she has a heart of gold or she just is at certain points, she's a little nice. I'd be curious to see if she actually becomes sort of a mother figure. It feels like it could go either way.
Then we get... and I want to hear from you guys on this, but my favorite New York detail of the episode, which is Josie tries to pay Jorge the rent and hands him 1/3 of $1,000 because she's like, well, 3 people live in here, so the rent's $1,000. And he's like, no, honey, it's $1,000 a person, even though they're living in this tiny, cramped apartment. And to me, I was
without doors.
Without doors. And I was like, you know what? That is spot on. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that tracks completely. You couldn't, even living in a small place with multiple roommates, $1,000 each is no surprise.
Yeah, the only trick there I would say is Washington Heights. If they were living in the East Village, 100%. That absolutely. That's $5,000, something like that, for an apartment that size.
I don't know. Maybe even up there, I think.
You think?
I don't think that's not. I think that's sort of believable.
Okay. But yeah, Josie is shocked. She's going to have to get some money. At this point, I think we can kind of follow everybody's plot lines individually, right? Because they start to branch out. Why don't we follow Josie? Let's talk about Josie's plot line. So she is wandering through the village.
Well, she has a job. Before she starts that, she has a job at Plunkin' Donuts. Is what she says, which is maybe the worst job you can get coming to New York.
Dude, what are you talking about? Free donuts? You freaking kidding me?
That is a perk, I guess, but that's like what a 10-year-old would want in a job, is free donuts.
How dare you?
I also am going to venture a guess if you're working at a Dunkin' Donuts, it's not all the free donuts you can eat. It's all the donuts you can pay for, and then you can eat them.
No way. I think it's after a certain time, you can eat the donuts because maybe they'll go bad or something. You know what I mean?
What are you talking about?
Because they got to
You
keep
think
fresh
there's a free for
donuts.
all? There's a free for all in the donuts at 5 p.m.
Yeah, 5 p.m.
No. Oh, 5 p.m.? Knowing you, Pete, I thought you were going to think it was like 10 a.m. or something. 10 a.m. donuts, fair game. Grab all you want.
The donuts aren't like
she's
Cinderella's pumpkin coach. They last.
Yeah, she's working at the Plug of Donuts, but she wanders around to find an old record store. I think it's called Chubby's. Is that right?
That's
Chubby's.
correct.
Chubby's.
Chubby Checker.
Chubby Checkers. And she goes into the record store, says she wants to work there, immediately gets hired, and then maybe the next day they're shutting down the store.
Yeah, what timing?
Yeah. Well, I have to imagine he blew all of his money hiring Josie, so she actually shut down the store, right?
Yeah, no, the benefits package at this so mom and pop record store has got to be crazy. I love how we have another mention of how Riverdale's a rough town.
Oh, yeah.
That's very fun.
I love all the Riverdale Easter eggs.
We'll get to, there's another Riverdale reference later on that I have some quibbles with. Personally.
Ooh, interesting.
We'll head over to Pete's Quibble Corner and check that one out. It's Pete's Quibble Corner. Pete owns it, but I just visit there sometimes. But yeah, so Alex goes, he talks to Josie, he apologizes, he still believes in her, he still really, really wants to work with her, which I think is great.
As he should.
Them together. Yeah, I mean, they have good chemistry, so I'm excited to see them together. And then Josie is cataloging albums, finds a secret piano in the shop. Turns out,
very lightly secret.
Yes. Sings the title of the episode, which, love that. Sings Can't Hurry Love. It's gorgeous.
Can't do it.
And it's over a montage of Ko and Katy going to a party, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But then, as we mentioned, Josie finds out the store is closing, and she hatches a plan at another party towards the end of the episode where she invites Alex. He's excited to be there. And she says, I want you to save Chubby's. And if you save Chubby's, maybe we'll talk about working together. So, of course, he buys it. And at the end of the episode, they're all drinking. Xandra enters, and she's going to be a jerk about things.
Yeah. Now, how did it was an emotional roller coaster. They were like, yeah, we saved it. And I'm like, guys, don't forget about the evil sister. And then she shows up and was like, yeah, this is all changing. And I was like, how did you guys forget about the fact that you have an evil sister? She ruined the last episode.
Yeah, well, we can talk about the evil thing. Oh, what were you going to say, Justin?
I was saying, I don't know if she's going to... I feel like she's a jerk, but is she going to turn it into a Starbucks or something? What's the evil plan?
Probably just, I mean, she can't change it into a sanitized record shop because nobody's going to shop at it regardless, right?
Yeah, but if Alex is doing it so he can keep Josie in the picture, and Xandra's there just to frustrate Alex, basically, it seems like.
Yeah.
Then what does that mean besides? I feel like they can't shut it down.
She's a character that they need to develop further, and I think they will as the show goes on. She can't just be an abject villain who comes in for one scene and messes up their plans, because there's got to be more than that. I mean, I know that's classically what her character is in Josie and the Pussycats, but I think for the life of the show, there needs to be more to it.
Oh, no, it's going to she's always a button. That would be hilarious.
Well, let's talk about the reference. This is another one of the check-ins when they're all on the bed, and when Josie figures out, you know what, actually I can get the money from the Cabots, and she says, those siblings are more drama than Cheryl and Jason Blossom, and one of them died.
Yes.
So my note was an arrow pointing that saying, what? Because for a bunch of reasons. First of all, everybody has the reaction of I think it's specifically Katy and Pepper look at each other being like, we don't know who those people are.
Yeah. Why would you bring that up?
Why would you bring up this reference that none of us get? Second of all, why is it so much drama that Jason died? That's a weird thing to say.
No. But she's just referencing the fact that Cheryl Blossom is very high drama, loves the drama, soaks it up. It's when she's at her best, and if you think that is, bad, these are worse. And it's so crazy. Even one of them's not there anymore, and it's still crazy amount of drama.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. Is these twins create drama, and so much that even after one of them died, there was even more drama.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. My biggest quibble of all is nobody creates more drama than Cheryl Blossom. It is a ridiculous statement to say anybody else creates more drama than Cheryl Blossom.
Wow.
That's just not accurate.
Here's my takeaway. This show is set 5 years in the future. We know for a fact that Cheryl Blossom lives for at least 5 more seasons of Riverdale.
Yeah.
We don't know that because she could have continued. They could have cut the scene short, and she could have said that those siblings are more drama than Cheryl and Jason Blossom, and one of them died, and also the other one died.
No.
That is the way people talk.
Yeah. That's normal dialogue.
I'm just
hire
saying
me
it's
to write
exciting
for
to
your
have
TV
Cheryl
show.
be in a totally safe zone.
Yes, I agree as well. Jason still dead though, so that's also good to establish.
Spoilers,
that he didn't come back
bro.
to life.
Yeah. True. The Riverdale is such a crazy show. It actually may be a better establishment that Jason remains dead and isn't somehow resurrected.
Yes. So let's jump over to Pepper's storyline because this is the first time we get a Pepper storyline at all. She was very much a side of the first episode, coming in, being comic relief, dropping a bunch of cultural references. But here we find out a big bunch of what's going on with her. She is staying in a fancy apartment building. She talks to, I don't know,
hotel. Yeah. Is it a it's
hotel?
Like yeah.
I think it's
that's
a
what
hotel. It's like,
What's that?
yeah, I think it's like hotel apartments. She's staying in a suite or something like that.
Yeah. Very fancy.
And I assume a concierge comes and talks to her, and she says, I'm off to make my dreams come true. Her dream, as she pitches to a smarmy investor at a fancy restaurant, is she wants to make a multimedia art space, is essentially what it is, right?
Like Andy Warhol's factory, which I think is
Right.
very cool.
Yeah. And then in order to get that done, we get a little glimmer of what's actually going on with Pepper here when she goes and checks out the space. Which
Well,
is
wait
an
just one
abandoned
second.
loft.
So she's
Yeah.
talking to this dude, Chad.
Yeah, Chad really just wants to do coke in the bathroom like it's
Now,
the 80s.
let me ask you, I'm only familiar with drugs like Jingle Jangle. What is coke?
Sure.
What is cocaine?
Oh, it's like Jingle Jangle, but if you take it out of the tube.
Yeah.
I gotcha. I love that this guy wants to go do coke at what I'm assuming is like noon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's very
noon,
early in
and
the
he's
day.
at like a nice restaurant in Midtown or something like that. So it all tracks.
Wait, Justin, you remember that one time we were in that bathroom and you were like, what is that dude sniffing? And I was like, it's Fun Dip. He's doing Fun Dip.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
I tried it. It was good. It was like really good candy.
Wow.
Yeah, you've been buying Fun Dip nonstop, but it hasn't really worked the same way, right?
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It must have been a special flavor.
Yeah.
It just tasted like fun. You know what I'm talking about?
No, it's those. Remember that limited edition they did, like the mystery flavor where you had to like guess what it was? It's probably it.
Yeah. I do believe in actual Fun Dip that the mystery flavor was cocaine.
Now, when she does find the perfect space, she immediately scams the real estate agent to get her down to this price. And that's what I mean about getting that first glimmer that Pepper is not exactly on the level. She's certainly a mover and shaker, but she is very easy with a scam, and we get that confirmed immediately afterwards when she goes back to the hotel apartment, whatever it is, and it turns out her credit is no good. She pays the concierge, tells her to bring her stuff to the space.
Dee Dee is the concierge's name, I believe.
What's her name?
Dee Dee.
Dee Dee. And Dee Dee shows up there, and then they smoocheroo and fall back on the bed, and that's where we leave the episode. So what do you think about this? Now that we know what's going on with Pepper, what's your take on that?
I like Pepper a lot more now after seeing that. Like, she's not just some, like, very wealthy hoity-toity. Like, she's faking it. She's, like, New Yorking it where she's
You like her better
pretending.
than she's faking it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it goes to show that even the rich con women are struggling in New York City.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just wants to make it as a con woman.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect time in America to con. The con is on.
Yeah.
She's going to pull a Big Short, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
That's a con, right?
But I really do. I love her dream. Her dream meshes well with everybody else. I feel like her plot this season will be getting this club open. And by the end of the season, everybody will be performing there in some way or another. Because I think
hope so.
the future of this storyline dovetails perhaps nicely with Jorge Ginger's story as someone who is struggling with the dream versus the reality and maybe having to change her dream.
Well, let's talk about that. So Jorge's kickoff with his mom, played by Daphne Rubin Vega, shows up. She wants him to audition for a Broadway show. And in fact, he does audition, and the director gets completely distracted and dismisses him because they heard about his outburst, which I thought was a great plot move to not let that go.
Yeah, I agree. And the Cats, his audition was going well, I thought. Very jellical.
Yeah.
He is a good dancer. Jody Beauchamp we were talking about this in the last episode. He's a good dancer. He's a good singer. He's a good actor. Real triple threat going on there.
Triple threat.
I really love
Give him a knife and he'd turn into a quadruple threat.
I really love the casting in this. I mean, I'm keep waiting for the musical numbers during the show. It's like a fun thing that they do that really fits, and the people that they have singing and dancing are so great. It's just a nice part of the show that seamlessly kind of turns into a song.
Of all these shows where the musical numbers are sort of dropped in, it works the best here on Katy Keene. It's like seamless. They're all performers. It feels very natural. I really appreciate it. But let me say, I think Jorge is a triple threat, but so is Pete, obviously.
Pete LePage?
Pete LePage.
Yes.
The three threats are sleeping, swearing, as we know, and hot dogs.
That's more of a threat to him, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. Thanks for clarifying. So then the rest of what happens with Jorge is he calls his agent or manager and is complaining. He's not exactly blacklisted, but he's as good as blacklisted. Begs him to get an audition, and he says, well, there is an audition for the hit rap musical Jefferson.
Yes.
Which is
historical.
Great. Absolutely love that. And he goes to the audition, he raps, and he nails it.
Yeah, it was good.
Absolutely nails it. Yeah,
very fun.
And in fact, gets the role, but it turns out the role isn't for the Broadway show, it's for the touring company. And as we know, we've all worked in performance. We've all worked on shows. When you get hired for a show, you leave the next day to go start performing the show. That's how
tours go. No time to rehearse.
No fittings.
Get in there, kid. You're the star.
Yes.
Nobody cares. In Dubuque, they don't know anything about theater. Do whatever you want.
Yeah. He reveals that he's leaving immediately, but is going to do one last drag show. And then he also finds out. Sorry, I did some very spotty notes here. But basically, he finds out from the other queens that Ginger can't be herself on the road.
Yes.
Because the rest of the America is not as allowing of drag, which doesn't feel exactly accurate to be in this day and age. I could be wrong, but I understand the artifice of doing it to the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's more places to perform in New York for sure, but there's definitely pockets. There's definitely pockets where Ginger could shine.
I agree it's a bit of an exaggeration, but there's definitely some underlying truth there that there are many parts of the country where several things about many of these characters' lifestyles would not be accepted or at least supported.
Mm-hmm. I will say this might be too much pragmatism and too much reality to apply to the show, which clearly is, as we've talked about, a fairy tale. But the fact that he nailed the audition, got hired for the touring company, go do that.
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
I was very surprised that the story went to he's quitting instantly. I mean, his agent is definitely going to be mad about that.
Oh, yeah. If you think you were blacklisted before, you're toast now.
Jesus, that was I know that maybe it will have repercussions the next episode, and I understand this is all about pursue your real dream, whatever that is. But just on a realistic level, he's going to be able to save up enough money over a year of doing a touring company and build up a legitimate credit, as well as probably get into equity, and then be able to come back to New York and get roles on Broadway and audition for that. So crazy pants. He should have done it.
Yes. And it's crazy he's not more worried about the repercussions to his career. He's more worried about his mom. He goes to the mom, and the mom's fine.
Yeah, she's fine with it.
Well,
she's like, that's cool.
It was a sad moment when, he realized, like, oh, man, this is going to be different. And then everybody else on the show was super sad. Like, oh, wait, Jorge, you're leaving? This is going to blow. And then I was like, yeah, Jorge, don't leave. But I'm obviously, like, in real life, you should leave. But for the show, I was like, I don't want to watch an episode that you're not in.
Yeah.
I was also surprised that they did the I'm leaving New York in the second episode of the series. Maybe it was to, like, get that plot point off the way. But that is a classic season finale thing.
Yeah.
That now they probably can't do again.
Well, they can do it with other characters. I think I would buy it later again, especially for Josie, who's like sort of like figuring it out. If she like has a huge situation or offer coming her way.
What if they did it every episode? One of the characters has to leave New York and decide whether they're leaving New York or not, and they always decide to stay in New York.
Well, what I think they're going to go the opposite way, as we will talk about. KO is going to move into the apartment. I feel like by the end of the season, all characters, Gloria, the prince, they'll all be living in the apartment with them. The lighthouse will be there.
Yeah. The lighthouse shows up with its bags, like, hey, can I?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bright at night. Don't look directly at me.
Yeah, it's not that I snore. It's just that I'm going to hit you with a huge strobe light in the face.
I slowly rotate my head, blasting light in people's faces all night long.
If you're worried that I go, ooh, that's foghorns. Don't worry about that. I'm a lighthouse. It's all good.
But I am dating a foghorn, and I want him to move in too.
Last thing we should mention about Jorge Ginger's storyline is she performs A Million Reasons up at Molly's Crisis. It's great. I'm not 100% familiar with drag culture. It's a little weird to me that Ginger is actually singing stuff versus lip syncing, but you know what? I'm just going to roll with it.
But
I'll stop going in Pete's.
Yeah.
It's great. It's so good.
I think, if you can sing, you sing. But if you can't, then you lip sync.
That's a nice shorthand to go by.
Sure. If there are anybody who is more familiar with drag culture, who knows anything about this, or if there are any drag queens that listen to this podcast, just let us know that we don't know what we're talking about. All right, let's jump over to Katie's storyline.
No, I can say for certain that it's not always lip syncing. It's often sung for real.
But it's not like a step down where you're sad, so you have to lip sync, as Pete suggested.
I'm not saying it's sad. They don't judge. If you want to sing it, great, and if you don't, it's all about just.
Hey everybody, I'm a little too sad to sing tonight, so I'm just going to lip sync. Okay.
What the fuck, man?
I don't know. You said it.
I liked the outfit. Felt like cab. It felt like the theme like a cab. Which I thought was cool, sort of like getting in the taxi to leave town and then slowly stripping it away before she ran off stage. Very nice.
Yeah. So jumping over to Katie's storyline, she gets into the room with Gloria. Amanda tries to shut her down, but it turns out...
Amanda.
Nasty old Amanda. But it turns out the prince, who she helped a prince with his fiancée the last episode and crushed it, he wants Katie to work with him to design a ring for his fiancée.
Right.
Yes.
And what's weird is that we didn't get, because I really like the Katie and the, soon to be fiance with the trying on the dresses and that stuff. And it was weird that like she wasn't there and it was just the prince. Like I understand he's picking out the ring, but
there's some serious chemistry there between the prince and Katie.
I thought for sure he was going to ask her out when she showed him the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way she looked at him when he put it on it's a bit much.
There was a little bit of a hand touch. Like he kind of stroked her hand. He touched her hand a little bit and she felt something. And if KO hadn't shown up at that point, I think things might have gone in a different direction.
And then later, again, when she shows him the design of the ring, I felt like the way he was looking at her, I was like, this is on.
Yeah.
Also,
I was almost surprised there wasn't a twist where he's like, and the ring is for you.
Yeah.
Which would have been over the top.
Yeah, it
but-
would have been over the top. 2 episodes, 2 proposals, that'd be crazy. But I do like the fact that at the beginning of the episode...
what is this, Riverdale?
I do like the fact that at the beginning of the episode, they set up how KO, she's like, oh, KO's the best. He's always there for me. He's always, like, right on time. And, like, he shows up right when, like, it's that weird ring moment. And I was just like, wow, she really did call that early.
Yeah. We get a classic. I appreciated Lucy Hale's physical comedy in this episode as the ring gets stuck on her finger as KO comes in and he's like, why are you wearing a ring? What's going on? Which is... at the same time as I really started shipping the Prince and Katie in this episode, I felt so bad for KO because he is so sweet and so nice. He's just trying to do the right thing. And he walks in and Katie is wearing some other ring.
Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah, it did. And I will say again, I know I keep saying this, but this feels just like so classic, so like old movie, like, and I love it as an updated version of that.
Then we get the worst New York moment of the episode, in my opinion. KO says, hey, you want to go out for lunch? And he and Katie are sitting outside and chatting, and they're eating what looks like hot dogs with nothing on them that they put hot dog side down. And that drove me a little insane.
Wow, I can't believe the detail in which you paid attention to that.
It bothered me so much.
Pete, as a resident hot dog expert, what did they do wrong?
What did they do wrong? Well, first of all, I mean, obviously, like, get
Alex,
whatever you want.
Xander, Pete is the hot dog expert on this.
Oh,
podcast.
Pete's the hot dog guy. I thought hot dogs were a threat to him.
No, it's a threat, and that's why he knows their weaknesses, their vulnerabilities.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, Pete. How do you eat a hot dog? What's the New York way to eat a hot dog?
Well, I feel like there's no New York way. It's like how you like it. Some people like sauerkraut. Some people like, but it is about putting condiments on a hot dog. That's the fun part about hot dogs.
Let's hear it. What are your condiments, Pete?
I go ketchup, mustard.
Disgusting.
Oh, God. What are you, a baby?
What does that
Alex,
mean?
what are you?
I usually go for mustard and sauerkraut.
Oh, that's gross, too.
What are you talking about? What do you put on it?
Mustard relish. Perfect.
Oh, God. Relish is gross.
Covered in relish.
No. How do we tape this many podcasts together?
Yeah, we have nothing in common.
Nothing in common.
That's gross.
Pete, you spent a lot of time in Philly. Don't they have a different way they do it down there?
Well, I was going to say, in Detroit, they do like a Coney Island dog where it's like, it's got like a chili on it, like a chili sauce, and then they put like a bunch of other condiments on it, which is really great.
And it's weird that they call it a Coney Island dog.
It is.
Because where I'm from in upstate New York, there's a separate hot dog called Coney's that are spicy and white sausage.
Oh, I love a white hot, dude.
Yeah. And in Chicago, they slice the hot dog down the middle, cream cheese.
Oh,
what? What are you talking about? When
Yes,
do they do that?
That's Chicago style. Go to Chicago.
No, Chicago style is running it through the garden. You put a bunch of like chunks of cucumber and shit on there.
What?
Yeah.
Running it through the garden?
Yeah, you get a hot dog, run it through the garden.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right, Pete?
Yeah.
You're the hot dog guy.
Yeah, it's legit.
Yeah, it's like you were holding a hot dog out in front of you and just smashing through as many vegetables as possible, and whatever falls on your hot dog, you eat.
Yeah, and let's not forget California style, where you buy a hot dog and throw it away.
Regardless, don't eat your hot dogs with nothing on them facing downwards on the table.
Facing down is the weirdest thing.
Yeah,
that made me think no one on set had ever eaten a hot dog before.
I have to assume it was the hot dogs kept blowing away or something like that. So they were like, I'm just going to put this like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe not blowing away. Maybe there were not just hundreds of hot dogs blowing down the street from the
Blowing away.
Hundreds of hot dogs.
What dystopia in the world are you talking about?
I'm just saying, every time they put down a hot dog in front of them, it just went whoop right down the street.
That happened in the Great Depression a lot.
That's true. I
Hot
remember
dog
that
blew
when
right
I
out
was
of my
pushing my
hand.
yeah. I go to bite it. It was a whole bit. for my silent movie. Anyway, so KO's mom, it turns out, is throwing an engagement party for them, even though she hasn't said yes. Katie says, no problem. What could possibly go wrong? Let's go and do this party. As we mentioned, Can't Hurry Love happens over it. Very pointed, very specific. And then we get, as you mentioned, Justin, I think the sweetest scene in the episode, Katie and KO's mom, a.k.a. Lena Dunham's mom from Girls, talk as they wash dishes. And she says, I wish your mom was here too. And he gives her their family ring, but she can't take it. Such a sad scene.
Well, I'm glad that she's finally being honest with the mom. That's great. I did think it was a little fucked up that like the dudes were watching TV, drinking beers, and the women were in the kitchen washing dishes. I was like, nah. But
I mean,
what?
I mean, that's like a very classic old school Irish or Italian family. You have that separation. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying like that's what they set them up as the most classic Irish family possible.
Okay.
So I get it.
Well, whatever. It's 2020. Anyways, so I was like, I was glad that Katie was finally coming clean and being like, hey, I'm not as into this as everybody thinks I am. I gotta, And it was heartbreaking. The mom did an amazing job acting of like she was crushed when she didn't take the ring.
Yeah. We also get a sweet thing. There's a great shot of they're waiting for, I guess, the bus to get home. And Katie is sitting there. KO is completely asleep on her shoulder. Very cute.
Yeah.
KO, one of my favorite characters on the show right now, which
I do
was
love
not
KO.
expecting going in.
He's very
What'd you
sweet.
say? Yeah, he really is. And then, as we mentioned, Katie designs the perfect ring for the prince. He loves it. And off of that, Gloria offers her job back while she is once again eating one of those little raspberry cakes. Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned, Katie talks to Gloria and is honest with her, tells her about the proposal. And Gloria says, tell him the truth. And they both cry a little bit and wipe their tears away.
Very
super sweet.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing, though. Katie is confronted with multiple decisions in her life, and in this episode specifically, right here especially, she's like, you have to choose between working in this job that is not what you want, but is you're good at and seems to be serving her, or go back to the windows where she gets to be more creative. And rather than make a choice, it's like, oh, you can just do both. And then again, later, it's like with KO, she's been struggling all episode, and she's like, do I marry him or end the relationship? And she then doesn't do either of them and muddies it and says, let's just stay together, move into our apartment.
Right.
So that's...
Which I think is, like, yeah, I see what you're saying, Justin, and you're right. But that's a normal thing to do in a relationship. Move in together. That's a next step. That's, taken to another level. So, like, I think instead of just saying, yeah, I'll marry you, like, hey, let's live together first and make sure neither one of us hate each other.
Well, I think this gets to what we were talking about earlier, that at least part of the show, I think, maybe, is about the difference between reality and dreams. And here, Katie is making a suggestion to KO, which is let's move in together and test how our relationship works on this level before we jump right to the fairy tale, beautiful street in New York, right in front of, again, what I assume is a Papa John's, doing a proposal there, the most romantic place you could possibly go. But you have like these two things that are fighting, and she's choosing the actually more realistic thing to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree it's realistic, but I really believed her when she was saying, I love him, but I know I don't want to marry him. And that's intense to say, and then I'll keep the relationship going. And then the cliffhanger at the end of the episode is like, but that's not going to work out, basically.
Yeah.
Now, I'm
There
sick
you go.
of, Zalbin, I'm sick of you shitting on this beautiful proposal in front of a pizza shop. All right, fancy guy, where did you propose in New York City that was like, so much better?
I mean, I'll answer that question, but first of all, I cannot think of any place fancier than in front of a Papa John's. I was giving a compliment.
Oh, okay, because to me, it sounds like the opposite of that.
Yeah,
Well, when they
and
say
if-
you have to ask the father's permission, they mean Papa John.
But to answer your question, Pete, if you want to know the place that I proposed in New York, that place was California.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
California,
not very New
York.
York at all.
As fucking hellhole as I possibly could get.
Wow.
I didn't want no rig thieves to steal my ring.
Yeah. Out where the pizza's made in the kitchen, California.
Were you
Yeah.
at least in front of California Pizza Kitchen, or
Of course I was in front of California Pizza Kitchen. Where else would I be?
Well, you know,
I got married, didn't I?
I thought because it's California, you know, maybe you did in front of a taco stand or a burger spot, you know.
No.
As long as it was in front of
California
food.
Pizza. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do any more or we'll get sued. What about you, Justin? Which
So-
New York spot did you propose in front of?
I proposed in the bar. My wife and I, when we had first just met, we went to a bar that I would later hang out in a lot and work at. And the bartender, who I didn't know but later became very good friends with, was like, "Oh, go up on the roof. It's got a great view of the New York skyline." Even though the restaurant was closed, we went up there, had our first kiss, and so my proposal was I tricked her into coming there. This is sort of a longer story. I had also brought a door home, and I was like, I'm going to make this door into a table. And she was like, yeah, right, because, she doesn't think I'm handy. But I was like, oh, yeah? Then 3 years later, I built it into a table secretly, brought the table onto the roof of that bar, and proposed to her in front of the table after lying to her and telling her that Dolly Parton was there.
Was she disappointed?
Very disappointed that there was no Dolly.
Holy shit!
But
I
that was
love
the lure.
Yeah, I love the fact that you had to go big to get her there. And Dolly Parton is such a letdown. But man, the fact that you somehow got a door table all the way up on the roof is impressive.
It was very difficult. It's 3 stories up, and we had to take it apart. My brother helped me take it apart, reassemble it. It was tricky. But also, she lived on the Upper West Side. I lived in Brooklyn, so luring her to my neighborhood was not easy. So I had to go big.
Wow.
You could have left her maybe a trail of jelly beans or something.
Trail
like
of
that.
diamond rings.
Diamond rings. Yes, exactly. Now, before we wrap up here, we had talked about this the last episode about doing some sort of New York tips at the end of the episode. I feel like we covered that. The main tip is don't eat your hot dogs toppingless or upside down. Those are both bad ideas.
Well, seriously, let's do get the big one out of the way first. What's your pizza spot? What's the pizza place you're like, that's the one I go to?
Oh, my God.
Well, it depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Am I hungover? Am I, is this the midday? When is this? Is this late night drunk? When is this?
For context, Pete eats pizza and drinks all day, every day. He's like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but a human who likes to drink.
Yeah.
I would say this is when you're going mid-afternoon. You don't need the pizza. You want the pizza.
Okay.
I mean, I usually, honestly, almost any pizza place when you're walking around is fine. Obviously, there's going to be some.
Wow, great! What an expert! Great.
Yeah, no. But
Pizza's
seriously, I
fine.
think
So you're saying
in New
literally
York,
any pizza? Pizza you find on the ground is fine.
if it's in the trash, you grab it.
It's New York
That's
pizza.
what I call raccooning it, bro. But seriously, other towns, I absolutely would not do that, and I avoid pizza in other towns because it's usually too bready and way too gross.
Ooh.
But if it is late at night or something, and you're like, I'm craving pizza, stopping in at any combination of famous original Ray's is usually, it's going to be fine. It's going to be about the same thing. And then I feel like nice places like a John's Pizza or a Grimaldi's or something, those are on a different level. They're a different sort of meal.
What are you doing? You're
You know?
just naming good pizza spots. Answer the motherfucking question.
No, this is what I am answering, because to me, it's going to a John's or a Grimaldi or, oh my God, what's the name of the place that also has the good burgers? I'll look it up in a second while one of you's talking. But something like that, to me, that's having a different sort of meal than just grabbing a slice.
Okay.
Talking about Big Nick's?
No, I'm not talking about Big Dicks. I'll look it up. What's your big tip, Pete?
Oh, wow. I like it when you're
nasty.
angry. That's
Yeah.
fun. I would say that if it's like a midday, I'm going to go with Prince Street Pizza. You get the grandma pepperoni slice. That's fucking money.
Wow, that's good. I'm going to go with New York Pizza Suprema, which is on 8th, and I want to say like 31st. That is a great. They do grandma slices as well, which are great. But the sauce is a little saltier than other places. So if you like salt, it's a perfect slice for you.
That's a weird thing to say, man. Salt on a pizza. That's what
It's
you
not
like.
salt. It's not salt on the pizza. I'm saying the sauce is a little saltier. Like
No, I heard you.
If you like it to be like that sort of rich, spicy flavor, this is the spot.
Okay, that's different than saying salty.
I would say, to call out a specific, like, very basic pizza place, Smiling Pizza, which is right by me in Park Slope, is actually pretty good. And there was a thing that I never in a million years would have thought to get, but a friend got it. It was real good. There's a salad slice, which is, like, basically just salad on a pizza.
Alex,
Very
you're
good.
ruining pizza.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
single-handedly ruining pizza.
You are killing me right
No,
now.
man, you run the pizza through the garden. You know what I'm
What?
talking about.
Yeah.
What was the burger pizza place that you were talking about?
Oh, my God. Emily Pizza.
My favorite pizza just has vitamins on it.
Yeah. My favorite
Emily,
pizza
have
is
you
when
ever
you
been to
go and
Emily?
you get a burger.
I just want pizza with my homework on it because I'm good.
Fine.
That's you, Alex. That's you,
Emily
Zand.
and Clinton Hill. Motorito Pizza is also pretty good.
Boo.
They're both very good, but they're not just a plain slice, which you can get fucking anywhere. Folks, if you want to support this podcast, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at the People's Improv Theater Loft in New York. Come on by. We'll argue with you about pizza. Socially, we don't have Katy Keene channels, but we do have Riverdale channels. Riverdale Dark on Twitter, Riverdale After on Instagram, Riverdale After Dark on Facebook, iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice if you want to subscribe to the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. And remember, whatever you're dreaming, dream it in your heart, dream it with your soul, but dream it first with your head.